Hello everyone. Recently, central government has announced three acts or enacted three acts related to agricultural reforms. Today, in this video, we will be analyzing and discussing about the agricultural reform acts which was enacted by the central government, and we will see what are the issues and what are the challenges and what are the benefits and what are the judicial implications related to these acts. It will be useful in preparing useful in UPSC as well as APPSC group 1, especially with respect to mains. So without further delay, we will move to the topic. So first of all, to provide a glimpse, so what are these three acts? Here the three acts are the Farmers Produce Trade and Commerce Promotion and Facilitation Act 2020 and the Farmers Empowerment and Protection Agreement on Price Assurance and Farm Services Act 2020 and the Essential Commodities Amendment Act 2020. These are the three acts, and here I want to make clear that I am not going to discuss what are the provisions of these three acts or what are the salient features of these three acts. What I am going to do is that I'll talk about the agricultural reforms as a whole or as a comprehensive package. I'm not going to deal with the acts separately, but as a bunch of these three acts, I'm going to discuss the implications of these three acts and what are the concerns of the farmers and why they are protesting and what are the judicial implications as a whole. So you need to keep that in mind. So before going into details, first of all I want to tell you that in this video I will discuss about what is the government's endeavor as far as agriculture is concerned, and what is the background of the reforms, and what are the earlier efforts of the reforms towards agriculture, and what is the need for present reforms, and what will be the benefit as a cumulative effect of these agricultural reforms on farmers or on agriculture sector as a whole, and what are the concerns with regard to the acts, and what are the concerns of farmers, and also what are the concerns of traders, etc., and what is the issues related to judicial intervention as recently Supreme Court has put a stay on the implementation of the farm acts, and we will see one or two mains related questions on the topic. So first of all, what is the government endeavor with respect to the agriculture? That means what is it government wants? In what way government wants to deal with agriculture? First point is that government wants to decrease the input cost on farming or agriculture. There is a huge input cost in agriculture as far as high yielding variety seeds are concerned, or fertilizers are concerned, or other inputs like pesticides are concerned. So all these are making there is a substantial increase in input cost. So government wants to reduce this input cost. And the second point is that government wants to ensure there will be proper prices for the produce by way of price assurances or by providing supporting prices like MSP and making sure that prices does not fall below the benchmark levels, etc. And also government wants to ensure that there must be a minimal harvest and post harvest losses. As per one estimate, there is a post harvest or harvest losses to the tune of 90,000 crores in India, and government wants to reduce this wastage, particularly harvest and post harvest losses in agriculture, because this is making Indian agricultural unremunerative, and this is creating problems for value addition for Indian agriculture. So the other aspect is that government wants to create more avenues for income generation. For instance, government want to encourage diversified crops. Example, pulses, oil seeds, etc. And also, by creating value addition and agri exports, government wants to increase the income generation of farmers. And one another point is that government wants to encourage horticulture crops and livestock, etc., so that the farmer will have more avenues for income generation. So these 4 points are the main aspects that government wants to achieve, and with all this it wants to achieve to double the income of farmers by 2022. So next, so what is actually the background of these agricultural reforms? So we have to come from the economic liberalization. At the time of economic liberalization, industry and services sector has been liberalized from rigorous regulations or from license permit raj. However, agriculture has been stayed away from these reforms largely, and because of this, there is a parity or disparity between the agriculture and other sectors, and agriculture was left out from these 1991 or from the economic liberalization. So this is one aspect. Now, the difference in annual income of farmer and non-farmer workers, which is at 25,398 rupees in 1993-94, it has widened to 54,377 in 1990 and 2000, and in the next decade it further increased to more than 1.42 lakh rupees. So there is a stark difference, or there is a stark income gap between the farmer and non-farmer worker. In order to reduce this gap, this the present reforms are necessary. And another aspect is that dairy and fisheries sector, these two are growing at an annual rate of 4% to 10%, while the growth in the food grain sector, where regulations were seen as excessive, has been at an average of 1.1% annually after 2011-12. So there is a stark difference or gap between the even the growth rates between the food grain sector and dairy and fisheries sector. So we have to provide a certain push, in technical aspect, in regulation aspect, in skill aspect to the agriculture sector, so that the agriculture sector will grow robustly. So this is the brief background about the reforms. Then we will understand what are the earlier efforts with regard to the agricultural market or agricultural reforms. Especially if you take the agricultural marketing, then there is an attempt to enact a model. Then there is Model APMC Act 2003, which is enacted by the central government in order to bring uniformity as far as the marketing infrastructure and marketing procedure across the nation is concerned. And another one is this AgMarkNet. It is an e-government platform of government to citizens, which provide information on agricultural marketing to the farmers as well as industry businesses, traders, etc. And the another aspect is Grameen Agricultural Markets, GRAMS. It was intended to convert the primary agricultural markets into the modern agricultural markets. And ENAM, this is Electronic National Agricultural Marketing. It is an electronic pan-India marketing platform, and which will provide a platform for digital trading or electronic trading of the agricultural products. And farmer producer organizations, FPOs, in order to convert farmers into agripreneurs, this was envisaged to increase the bargaining power and value addition of the farmers and value addition to their produce. So these are the earlier efforts by the central government to make agricultural profitable and to strengthen the agricultural marketing and infrastructure. However, all these earlier efforts faced several challenges in implementing, and that's why they are not that much successful. For example, if you take Model Agricultural Produce Marketing Committee Act 2003, it has not been adapted by all the states. Some states it has adopted, some states it has not been adapted. So it is of partial success. And similarly, if you take ENAM, Electronic National Agricultural Marketing, There are problems of internet connection, providing infrastructure, and digital illiteracy among the farmers, and less awareness. This is the problem in implementing ENAM. So, because of these difficulties and challenges in earlier efforts, agriculture was in need of comprehensive set of reforms to increase the farmer income and protect the farmers from price distortions. Now, what is the need for reforms? So, the need for reforms we can understand from the following, that there are fragmented markets, insufficient markets, market fees and charges, that is, increased market fees and charges, and inadequate infrastructure, post harvest losses, restriction in licensing, and high intermediation cost, information as limited availability of information, inadequate credit facilities to the farmers. So, because of all these challenges or all these obstacles, we need reforms which will remove these difficulties in farming. For instance, if you take the fragmented markets, because of the fragmented markets, the movement of the agricultural produce is not seamless, not robust, and the logistics difficulties and financial difficulties of transportation of moving agricultural product from one market to another market is huge for farmers, especially considering 80% of the farmers in India are small and marginal farmers. They are not having the capacity to spend amounts, huge amounts on transportation and logistics. That is the main obstacle as far as this fragmented markets is concerned. And there are insufficient markets. So, if you take in rural India, the markets in the rural India are not sufficient and not localized, in the sense that the products, agricultural products of the farmers, have to go to either district headquarters or mandal headquarters in order to dispose of their products, and this is making financially burdensome for the farmers. And third point is that market fees and charges. Even though farmers take their products to the markets, there is plethora of fees and charges which were imposed on the farmers, which will create problems for the farmers. And inadequate infrastructure like lack of warehouses, processing and grading facilities, packaging facilities, etc., render agricultural unprofitable. And one more thing is that post harvest losses. This is also due to lack of warehouses, cold chain infrastructure, logistic facilities, etc. There are huge amounts of post harvest losses in India. And restriction in licensing. The licensing will be provided to only some persons, and this is making APMC, especially APMCs, as cartelization, and some traders are getting licenses and making agriculture marketing uncompetitive. And high intermediation cost. Because of all these difficulties, farmer was not able to pay the prices, and there involved a high intermediation cost because of the traders and cartelization. And information is also limited. This information or market information or price information was withheld by the traders and commission agents, and they are not providing correct picture to the farmers. This is also difficulty. And inadequate credit facilities. Still, the informal credit facilities are ruling the roost on farmers. So this is also a difficult situation. Because of all these, we need a comprehensive reforms in agriculture in order to liberalize the agriculture and made agricultural profitable, thereby making farmers income double by 2022. So in order to address all these challenges, government has enacted 3 agricultural reform acts. Okay, now the government has enacted 3 agricultural reform acts. Then what will be the cumulative effects of these reforms? So we will see in a comparative perspective what will be the benefits, what will be the aspect before reforms, and what will be the scenario after reforms. First point, farmer can sell before reforms. Farmer can sell notified farm produce only in APMC mandi. However, after reforms, there will be a freedom of choice to sell in APMC mandi or choose any other seller. So he will be having a freedom of choice. And before reforms, there will be a monopoly of few, After reforms, multiple options will be available to sell. Before reforms, cattle of traders could keep prices artificially low. However, after reforms, better price realization through competition will be available to the farmers. Another point is that once produce brought to mandi, farmer has to accept whatever price is offered to him. This was the scenario before reforms. After reforms, farmer can bargain for price even at doorstep also. And before reform, mandi fee, commission and other charges borne by producers and consumers. Then after reforms, there will be no fee, no commission, large savings to benefit producers and consumers. Before reforms, there is a large price spread and long chain of intermediaries were there. After reforms, there is higher share of farmer in consumers payment and minimum or no intermediaries involved. Next, before reforms, there will be no opportunity for farm youth to trade agricultural commodities. After reforms, rural farm youth will get opportunity to trade and run supply chain. This will increase the employment opportunities as well as rural income. Then before reforms, the farmers cannot directly sell to consumers. After reforms, the farmers can sell directly to anyone and earn high price. We will see some more benefits. Before reforms, there is a freedom to sell fruits and vegetables outside of APMC mandi existed in some states only, but this freedom is now extended to all agricultural produce and all over the country. And small landholders did not have scale and bargaining power in input and output markets. This is the scenario before reforms. After reforms, the small and marginal landholders empowered to access modern input, services and protection against price risk, and farmer producer organizations help small farmers organizations for better bargaining power. In a way, these reforms will provide an increased bargaining power to the farmers, and they can bargain and they can get better price. And contract farming is restricted only to some pockets of the country as far as before reforms are concerned. However, this is going to change, and contract farming now nationally enabled and on terms which are favorable to farmers. The other point is that farmers are not part of the value chains before reforms. Now farmers will now be partners in value chain after the reforms. And exports getting uncompetitive due to long chain of intermediaries and poor logistics before reforms. After reforms, export will become competitiveness, and its competitiveness will increase and benefit the farmers. And this connected with the new agricultural export policy 2018 will provide benefits to the farmers. So these are the cumulative effects of the reforms. Now, with all these reforms and efforts, what the central government wants to achieve, and towards which aspect these reforms are working out. One is that these reforms are aiming to make one nation, one market possible, and another is that they want to double the income of farmers by 2022, and they want to increase the value addition and agri exports. And there is one specific policy related to agri export, that is agri export policy 2018, which will also facilitate for the improved agri exports from India. And there is, as said by the Prime Minister, there is a concept of beet se bazaar tak, that means from seed to market. They want to create the robust supply chain or logistic chain from input to market, and they want to convert farmers to agripreneurs similar to entrepreneurs, and increase the bargaining power of the farmers and protect the farmers from price volatilities in the market. So these goals they want to achieve from the farm acts. Okay, now we have seen the positive aspects, and we have seen the aims and goals of these reforms, and we have seen the intricacies. Then we will see why there is a widespread opposition to these reforms. There is a widespread opposition to these reforms coming from farmers as well as traders. Now, farmers are fearing that these reforms are precursor to the phasing out of MSP. They fear that with these reforms, the government's procurement infrastructure or procurement process will be done away with, and they will be at the mercy of the big industry or big business. Then other fear is that small and marginal farmers will be at the mercy of the corporates, because small and marginal farmers will not be having that much bargaining power. So big corporates will try to create price conditions that will be not remunerative to the small and marginal farmers. And big corporates, one more aspect is that the big corporates will make the contracts in such a way that they were in favor of the big corporates and industry. And another aspect is that the awareness and literacy levels, both general literacy and digital literacy levels of the small and marginal farmers India, who constitute nearly 80% of the farmers, are not up to the mark, so that they can understand the contractual obligations or contractual terms and conditions of the corporates. This will render them vulnerable to the misleadings or vulnerable to the tactics of the big corporates. And one more agitating aspect is that these reforms or these acts are violating the federal spirit of the constitution. Some of the state governments are saying that agriculture is the state subject, but central government has made these reforms in line with the agricultural marketing, agri marketing, which is a subject in concurrent list, that is list 3 of the Indian constitution, which is violation of principle of federal spirit of the constitution. So another aspect is that this is not inclusive of any farm organization. They are mainly accusing that there was no consultations by the central government before enacting these acts. So these are the main concerns. By next we will see judicial intervention related issues. So for this issue, judicial intervention is not the ideal solution, because this has to be treated at the political level, as it is a political issue. And recently Supreme Court has put a stay on the implementation of the farming lands, and this was done without, based on the premise of constitutionality of the acts, because earlier in the Aadhaar Act and in the Electoral Bonds Related Act, the Supreme Court has put a stay on the implementation of these two aspects by considering the constitutionality of the decisions, executive decisions or whatever statutory decisions, of the constitutionality of the statutory and executive decisions. However, in this case, the Supreme Court put a stay, but without considering on the premise of the constitutionality act of the acts, merely considering the opposition views, or merely considering the opposition to the farm acts. The Supreme Court has put a stay on the acts, and which is a bad precedent, and it is a political problem, as I said, and needs a political dialogue and discussion. It doesn't need a judicial intervention, or doesn't warrant a judicial intervention. Then even farmer unions, who welcomed the stay but not showed much interest in the Supreme Court appointed expert committee. Even farmers also, they have welcomed the stay of the Supreme Court, but however they are skeptical, or they have not shown any interest towards the Supreme Court appointed expert committee. And mainly they are saying that the expert committee, the members of the expert committee which was appointed by the Supreme Court, they have openly expressed positivity towards the agricultural reforms. That is, they have openly supported the government's agricultural reform acts. So they are skeptical about the Supreme Court appointed expert committee. So this aspect, or this tendency, will render a disrepute to the democratic institutions like the Supreme Court, because if they are not listening to the government, or they are skeptical about the Supreme Court's appointed expert committee, then there is every chance that the democratic institutions will weaken. So this is the main issue regarding the judicial intervention. So this is all about the agricultural reform acts and their related issues. Based on this, we will see some questions. For example, in the recently conducted UPSC UPSC 2020 mains, in GS3 paper there is a question which was asked in the GS3 mains, that is, what are the main constraints in transport and marketing of agricultural produce in India? In effect, and it is stressing about the background of the Agricultural Reform Acts. See, it is asking about the constraints in transport and marketing of agricultural produce in India. So, whatever the constraints in agricultural produce transport, like lack of cold chain infrastructure, lack of warehousing facilities, lack of hinterland connectivity, and lack of marketing infrastructure, digital infrastructure, marketing information asymmetry, etc., you have to provide in 150 words. Another question, based on our discussion, we can say that the recent agricultural reform acts are a big push towards value added agriculture. Explain the cumulative benefits of the recent agricultural reform acts and also the challenges to implement the same. So please try to attempt these two questions. Thank you.